Hey guys, welcome back to some more reviews. The Explorer of Horror here, the Horror Boy, and welcome to my review of Poltergeist II, The Other Side, which I'm going to try and get that in frame. Right there, Poltergeist II, The Other Side. This is actually the only way I've been able to find Poltergeist 2 and 3. I maybe have seen Poltergeist 2 in a separate DVD one other time in my life. And every other time I've seen these sequels was either on VHS, not really on DVD. Actually, the first time I seen Poltergeist 3 was on VHS, but unfortunately that VHS is now gone, but I used to have it on VHS. But Poltergeist 2 is a film that came out in 1986, gets a 5.7 on IMDb, and was directed by Brian Gibson. And I do like Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. I like it. I don't think I love it. I don't think it's nearly as good as the first movie, for many reasons. And I think one of the things missing from it is that magic and charm that was in the first movie. I just don't think you're gonna ever be able to replicate that kind of filmmaking. I mean, as far as, just the character interactions, the script, the acting. I don't think you were going to really be able to top that. It's like Halloween. Even though I love Halloween 2, I love Halloween 4, I don't think they topped the first movie because of just how good the first movie is. Jaws 2, great sequel. Love Jaws 2. But I wouldn't say it's as good as Jaws. Halloween 2, Halloween 4, both great sequels, but I wouldn't say it's better than the first Halloween. It just kind of happens. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and 3, love both of them, but the original is my favorite horror film of all time. And Poltergeist is my favorite ghost horror film of all time. So Poltergeist 2 had a really big movie to follow up. And I thought this is honestly the best they could have done. I mean, yeah, the acting a few places and character chemistry could have been fixed up a little bit here and there, but overall, I mean, I think it's just they did the best they could with Poltergeist 2. And it's kind of hard because Poltergeist is one of those movies that, honestly, I don't think needed a sequel. I really don't. I thought Poltergeist kind of told everything it did in the first movie. And the more these movies go on, the more you realize that them bringing the Poltergeist back again and again, by part 3, it starts getting like, alright, part 3... You have Kane in this movie, who comes back in that movie. It's like, really? Another Poltergeist? And another, it's again with Carol Ann, and it's again with the family. Well, not the family, but Carol Ann and her uncle and stuff, and her aunt. By that point in the series, you're just kind of going like, would these spirits really be following her still, after all this time? But that's the thing about the first Poltergeist, is that it's the original, it did it first, it felt natural. In this movie, it doesn't feel too bad, it just sometimes kind of feels like certain things are kind of forced in there. And we'll get to that in a second, but it has problems. And that's the thing, I think Poltergeist only has one problem, which I forgot to mention, and it's that really awkward cut in the movie, which wasn't even their fault. It was because I think they did a nod to like Pizza Hut in there, or it might have been Pizza Hut. I don't remember if it was Pizza Hut or Donato's or whatever, but they did a pizza brand in that movie. I think it was Pizza Hut, and they mentioned how we don't like Pizza Hut, and Pizza Hut saw that and didn't want that in the movie, so they had to cut it out, and thus probably got the awkward edit. That's the only issue with the first movie to me. Everything else is flawless. Camera work, lighting, music. I think there are things in this movie that are kind of stepped down, but overall I do like it. I mean, it takes place right after the first movie. Of course, the end of the first movie, you had the really awesome finale with the caskets coming out of the ground and opening up, and skeletons and everywhere, and you had the thunder, the lightning, the house being sucked down into this abyss. And this movie, they explained that when the house got sucked down, it kind of awoke something, or kind of led to kind of this tomb area that this old preacher named Cain, who I thought in this movie was actually a really good villain, Julian Beck. I think he was not in very good health when they were making this movie, and he passed away, I want to say, after the movie was released. That's the thing, this movie, also the Poltergeist curse kind of went on because Julian Beck passed away not long after this movie. Will Sampson, playing Taylor, passed away, I think, a year after this movie. So there were still things going on with this movie that is kind of strange how this franchise kept going on, and more people started, passing away. And of course, the daughter from the original movie, the oldest daughter, isn't back in this movie because of, the unfortunate thing that happened to her. But it is kind of weird just think about that, man, how the series is just very eerie, kind of that haunting undertone to it when you're watching the movies. It's very haunting and very sad. But you do have the same cast coming back in this movie. You have Jo Beth Williams, Craig T. Nelson, Heather O'Rourke, Oliver Robbins, Zelda Rubinstein, Will Sampson, who's a new entry, and so is Julian Beck. And so is Geraldine, I'm not going to say it right, Geraldine Fitzgerald. I think that's how you say it. But she's in this movie, does a pretty good job too. And so I will say that most sequels don't get all the original cast members back. I mean, I really can't think of a lot of sequels that get the original cast back, especially like that, to get the entire cast back, except for the ones that unfortunately couldn't come back for this movie. They got the leads, they got Heather O'Rourke, they even got Oliver Robbins. I can really commend the movie for that. That's awesome. And basically, like I said, when that house got sucked down into the ground, or into that portal thing, it kind of went into this tomb area and kind of stirred up the spirit named Cain, who is this guy who, like I said, is a preacher who had killed people back in the day and locked them down in this tunnel area and forced them down there and made them pretty much all die. And he gets awoken by the events of the first movie, and he runs into Carol Ann. And then he pretty much begins to try to get Carol Ann on the other side again. And the movie really, I thought the special effects movie were really well done. I mean, you have a lot of cool looking scenes. Craig T. Nelson starts drinking pretty heavy, and when he takes a drink of whiskey, there's a little worm in there, and the worm is actually Cain, and he possesses Craig T. Nelson. And that just all ends up being a great scene. And then Craig T. Nelson, of course, spits him back out, and it ends up being this worm creature with, it's all practical. And this is a PG-13. These are both PG-13 movies. So it's very, very graphic, where, he pukes it back up, and then the creature kind of looks like Cain and crawls away. Very creepy looking scene. You have a scene where they're in the garage trying to start up their car, and this chainsaw comes around and attacks the car, and there's lightning and wind, and basically like the first movie, where it was like a lot of lightning, wind effects, lighting, a lot of things flying everywhere. You have a scene which I thought was pretty cool, where the Robbie character is brushing his teeth, and his braces grow out of his teeth, and basically trap him in these braces. And then the dad, Greg T. Nelson goes up there, and Jo Beth Williams goes up there, and they get attacked by the braces too. Very cool looking effect, pretty cool looking scene. I mean, I really enjoyed that. The problem though is that even though, yes, you have the original cast coming back, and they do decent acting in this movie. I don't think it's nearly as good as the first movie, but it is decent acting in this movie. I thought that, Jo Beth Williams, Craig T. Nelson, Heather O'Rourke did pretty good jobs in this movie. Heather O'Rourke, again, it's awesome seeing her back in the Poltergeist movies, and it's just, it's awesome to see her back, but it's very sad because, again, in this movie, she delivers a great performance, and, you just really feel bad that she passed away. You know, she was such a sweet little girl and such just a great actress and great character in the series. And you know, it was just really sad to just watch these movies back again and you know that she did pass away. But you know, rest in peace to her. She did a great job in these movies, and you know, it was really good seeing her come back in this movie, and she did a great job. Um, but the rest of the cast is decent. I don't think that the acting in this movie is probably as strong as the first movie, like I said. I think also what it is. But before we get into the problems, I just wanted to say the good things. Decent acting, a decent atmosphere, kind of meh atmosphere. Um, Pretty good special effects when they're there. I like the special effects. I like the storyline of Kane. He's a great villain. He's played by Julian Beck. He's played very well by him. I like the idea of it. I like the plot. Um, I liked Will Sampson in this movie as Taylor. I thought he did a great job as that character. I like how at the end of the movie you see what the other side looks like, and it's this very weird, warped reality, which looks pretty cool. And the demon creatures and stuff like that. People have problems with that. I actually like the way that stuff looks. You know, at the kind of otherworldly kind of atmosphere of it. But I think when you go into the problems, I think what it is that just there's not that magic there's not that energy there, and they try to make Jo Beth Williams and Craig T. Nelson have that chemistry again. Sometimes it's there, but most of the time it really isn't. I mean, it's just they do a great job acting wise. It's just I don't know if it was the script. I think it might have been the script. It was just it felt like they were kind of forcing that stuff in there because remember in the first movie they had fun. Well, this movie they got to have fun again. It's just kind of like I would much rather it be just natural, man. Let it happen naturally, not script it like that. There's like a flashback sequence in this movie where Jo Beth Williams has a flashback to when she was a kid, and she has a nightmare of being dragged into the ground. Just for some reason, that stuff didn't really work for me. The music in this movie is not nearly as good as the original movie's music. I mean, the best music is the end credits music because it's the original theme song, but everything else I thought just didn't sound as good as the original movie's music. I don't think it looks as good as the original, shot wise, lighting wise. It's not as visually pleasing to look at as the original movie. The movie drags. That's the biggest part of the movie is that it really drags, and for the first 40 minutes there's nothing really going on, you know, and you don't really get a lot happening until the third act. And it really does slow the movie down a little bit. There's times where I was just checking the runtime, seeing if it was going to be, you know, seeing where it's at now. That happened a lot during the watching of this movie. Just kind of checking the time, seeing where I'm at, you know, making sure where it's at. You know, it didn't even really happen that much in Poltergeist 3, but in this movie, it was just really constantly just a slow pace. And the ending, even though I liked the whole idea of going to the other world, it kind of felt like that ending was rushed. And Zelda Rubinstein in this movie just really felt like she was kind of wrote into the movie without really needing to be there. I mean, really, honestly, I'm trying to think. Will Sampson replaced kind of that character from the first movie. You know, I mean, even though I thought Zelda Rubinstein does a great job in the movie, she does. She does a great job. I just thought that the Taylor character was kind of the new Tangina. Like, that was kind of what his role was. But they put Tangina back in there, and really Tangina doesn't do really much in the movie. I mean, she's kind of pops up here and there, comes back at the end of the movie, and I just felt like that her character was kind of written in there along the way. It doesn't really feel like she was meant to be in the movie that much, but it was cool seeing her back, and it was cool seeing Zelda Rubinstein coming back and once again delivering a great performance in this movie. And the ending just felt kind of rushed. I mean, it was at the last 8-minute mark where they're going into the cave, finding Kane. The Joe Beth Williams and Heather O'Rourke being put into the other side, and then Craig T. Nelson sees the Taylor character and jumps into the fire, and it's a portal that leads to the other side. That's all done within 8 minutes. And also the battle, where Craig T. Nelson throws the spear at Kane and kills him, and pretty much they get Caroline back, and then they walk out, and the movie ends. That all happens within 8 minutes, and when you're doing all that stuff within 8 minutes, it felt very, very, very snappy. Like, they walk in, boom, they see Kane. Jo Beth Williams and Caroline are gone. Then, boom, he looks over, sees Taylor, jumps into the fire, battles the Kane monster, gets out of there, goes to the surface, walks out, and then that's the end of the movie. In 8 minutes, it's just... I think it would have worked better if it was at least 12 minutes left in the movie. At least 12, 13, 14 minutes left in the movie. If there was that much time left, I feel like it would have felt more natural, that ending would have. Because it just, without that, with that 8-minute ending like that and being so, fast-paced, it made it very, very rushed. And it really didn't, the ending of the movie didn't really feel that effective. Because it wasn't that impactful because of it being rushed like that. But, besides that, I mean, like, it does have problems, but I do like it. I mean, I think that the Craig T. Nelson and Will Sampson, I think they have some great scenes where Craig T. Nelson, his car is really acting up, and Taylor kind of puts this blessing on it. He's like, it's a very angry car. He's like, yeah, it's angry. It's pissed off. So... throughout the movie, Craig T. Nelson's car is acting up again, and finally at the end of the movie, he's like, man, I don't know how we're going to get this car to start acting better. And the Taylor character's like, well, the car's still mad, or still angry. He's like, oh yeah? Well, how do we get it happy? He's like, well, it comes home with me. So Taylor takes his car, and then the wife is like, Jo Beth Williams is like, we still gotta drive home. He's like, hold up, wait, Taylor. That was a great ending. That very ending shot was really funny. And it does have some good comedy in it, and some good moments. Sometimes the moments between the characters are actually good. But another problem I have, too, is this whole plot. It's different. It is different. That's the thing, this movie is different. It's not a ripoff of the original Poltergeist. It's really not. And I commend it for that because, it would have been so easy to have the TV ghosts again, and Carol Ann being put on the other side again, and having the same things happen again, and having Tangina come back again. I like how they were trying to expand things and make it more of a broader universe, but I don't think it was really necessary in the Poltergeist movies to have a broad universe like that. And the whole finding your inner warrior thing, Taylor teaching Craig T. Nelson by the fire how to approach these demons with, the strength of a warrior, and the whole scene where the fire formed into a demon and kind of breathes this warrior spirit into Craig T. Nelson, and Craig T. Nelson uses that against Kane. And there's the spear that Taylor has that Craig T. Nelson has to use to fight Kane with, and I don't know, it just felt like it was not needed in the movie, and I don't really think it worked in the movie. But everything else, like I said, some decent acting, some really good moments in the movie, some good classic scenes. I thought when it had the little bit of moments from the first movie's charm in there, I thought it worked. Once again, Heather O'Rourke, she does awesome in this movie, and, her scenes are awesome and wonderful. And, she delivered a great performance in this movie. So did Jo Beth Williams. She did a great job as well. And Craig T. Nelson. I mean, just really... The cast did a decent job. I mean, they came back. They got the original cast back in this movie, all from the original film. And I commend the movie for that. It's pretty good for doing that. But yeah, man, I mean, overall, I like Poltergeist to the other side. I think it's miles better than the next one we're talking about. But I think it's just a likable movie. It's, a movie that I like, but I don't love nearly as much as the first movie. And if you ask me, honestly, if Poltergeist needed sequels or needed remakes, I would say no. Poltergeist is just a perfect movie. But for what Poltergeist 2 is, I do think it is a pretty decent sequel. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review of Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your guys' thoughts on Poltergeist 2 in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Take care. Have a good night. And the Explorer of Horror is out. See you guys later.